I'm Curt with Slick Rock Productions, and I'm here with my friend. This is Senator Wilson. We have a long history together. He's also the owner of Wilson Motors. Wilson Motors has been around a long time, and we've been friends for a long time. And I think that I want to have a conversation with you, and I want people to understand the side of you that I know. I think it's important. So if you don't mind, will you tell me a little bit about your history, your family history with Wilson Motors?
Well, I would be happy to do that. I appreciate this opportunity. Yeah, I've known Curt for a long time. Appreciate him as a partner and what we've been able to do business-wise. But yeah, Wilson Motor Company, we just celebrated our 82nd anniversary right here, same location. We actually have moved on a little bit, so it was next door right there. But 82 years, very, very proud of our heritage. My grandpa started Wilson Motor, and during World War II, in 1943, when there weren't any new cars, basically Ford was producing tanks and planes and those things for the war effort. So my grandpa had a really tough time, purchased the Ford store, and then his only really business was parts and service, or he would drive around and try and find pre-owned used vehicles. So proud of that. My grandpa was a blue-collar guy like my family. He grew up through the business. He started as a body man, went through parts and service, and then was able to purchase the Ford store here. So proud of that heritage.
It's been a long time. I grew up in this town as well, and I remember this place from when I was a child. I knew your father a little bit.
Yeah.
And bought my first truck here, actually, a lot of years ago when we were younger.
Yeah.
But you're rooted into this, not just this dealership in your family, but the town and the community. We know a lot of people here. In fact, just between you and I, we probably know everybody. And I can't thank you enough. I'm proud to be here with you. A lot of years ago, we used to do business together before we made a partnership. And I had a great history with you, and I've always respected you, Chris.
Awesome. Very nice.
I've had some business partners in my life that you had to watch your back a little bit. And I can honestly say with you, not only have I never watched my back, we've gone through, in the last decade, we've gone through some ups and downs with COVID and economical challenges. And I never question where you stand. There's never been a moment in my life when I thought, man, what does this guy think? Is this right? That is just something I've always respected about you. And then to have you welcome me into this place, and the things that we've been through over the years has always meant a lot to me. I feel like what has been good for me and my family has been what your goals have been for not just me, but for everybody that works here. The people that work here have got a great deal of respect for you as well. You're a good person. And I would have a hard time coming up with a bad story about you. It makes me happy. Quite a few years ago, this man told me he was going to run for Senate, and I had concerns.
That's state Senate, by the way. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And you went down that path, and you got into the Senate, and since then, you and I have had a lot of political conversations. We've had a lot of time together over the years, and you've done some great things, and you stand with the people who follow us. I know you're big in public lands. I know that you are big about civil liberties, and I believe that you joined this for the right reason. We know politicians who have got in for what we think is the wrong reason, but I don't think, I know you're not one of those guys. And your experience with the Senate coming through, it's had some effect on business here. You and I are the guys in this building the least amount. You're in session quite frequently. You're wearing quite a few hats, a lot of responsibilities with this. We're out advocating for public lands frequently and enjoying them. And on my behalf of myself and everybody who follows us in Slick Rock, we really appreciate your efforts. And so what's your feelings with what the future holds with public lands, and what are your concerns out there, and what are you watching?
Well, I appreciate all the kind things you said, Curt. I appreciate it. And I did run for political office because I wanted to give back to the community. I really did. And to be honest with you, it's probably cost me business. It's tough to be in this position and not upset some of your constituents. And of course, in Cache Valley, we have a lot of, we believe in pioneer values, family, faith, and freedoms. And so I've tried to carry that on to the Senate and my voting record. But There are people here in Cache Valley that obviously haven't been pleased with everything, but the Democrats, the liberals probably aren't very happy. But I do believe in public lands, and I do actually own a Razor and ATV, so I appreciate getting which was a reminder that I need to get it back so I can use it. So anyway, but I do believe in outdoor recreation. I've always been a big supporter of outdoor recreation. I think that helps with our value, our life's values go up as we enjoy the outdoors, and we have so many varying types of geography here in the state of Utah. And I think it's important for us to enjoy that and to get out. And so I have been concerned when people are talking about locking up private lands. I know there's been some closures of some campsites and some trails and stuff, and that kind of bothers me because I believe we all have a stewardship and we need to take care of that, but we need to enjoy it. And a lot of that came when I was a young man, and my dad came to me, and my dad kind of, he kind of molded me into what my policies are. But I remember at the time up in Alaska, they closed millions of acres of land up there. And I remember my dad saying, it's just sad that, we can't use that because as we get older, or those with special needs that are, they need to have access, and not everybody can go for a hike, and not everybody can walk into these areas. And so I think having the ability, with ATVs, it gives everybody an opportunity to enjoy those lands. Because to me, everybody's has a stewardship, and everybody should be able to enjoy them. So that's one thing I believe in, and I've always tried to advocate for is open public lands.
You're absolutely correct. Utah is a very diverse state when it comes to the outdoors. We have sand dunes here. We have the iconic Moab, and down south we have mountain riding here. We have desert riding. There's a lot of public lands that are out there that you can only really experience if you're on a machine.
Yeah.
You can hike a lot of those lands if you're really ambitious, which at my age I'm not. But a lot of the places that we travel in this state, we would not be able to access that stuff without the ability to have trails. That's very important to us. Jake and I have done a lot of events, a lot of riding in the Midwest and back east and south. And what you get out there is most of those states have sold off all their public land. They end up in private riding parks. So we know a lot of people who will travel 4, 5, 6, 7 hours just to be able to go ride for a day because that's the option. And that's very concerning to us here where we live. Those guys tell us when they come out here how lucky we are all the time, and we know we are. Along with that becomes Jake and I are big advocates, Slickmark are big advocates for, being responsible stewards to the land. Obviously, cleaning up trash and being good stewards and not trespassing, staying on the trail. We do a lot of work with a lot of foundations, a lot of organizations, a lot of nonprofits to help advocate for that. That takes us only so far when it comes to legislation, though. And so it's very important to us to not only know lawmakers and understand the difference between who's lobbying at why and who actually has the citizens' best interests in mind. And with you, I have no doubt. Clearly, we have a long history together, and I know you very well. And we've had some experiences in the past with some politicians who've told us one thing. We agree with that stance, and then they go another direction. And that puts us in a bad spot because we, like our following out there, need to understand the difference between truth and between what's real and what's not real. And there is one thing that I would like everybody to understand is this man is an honest man. I've had some concerns, and there's been some bills proposed, and there's been legislatures proposed. I can have a conversation with you, and you can tell me what's what, so I understand what side to get on. I kind of sift through the smoke and confusion out there. You helped us out greatly with Moab a while back. We're very appreciative of that. That is an iconic place, especially for us. We're in crawlers by heart.
Yeah.
There's nowhere that compares to.
Yep, we're lucky to have it. Yep.
It is a wonderful place. It's very important that it stays open. It draws a lot of tourism here. It brings in a lot of revenue. We've done a lot of stuff with the city council, the county down there, the BLM, the DNR, trying to push tourism back in that way after some turmoil has happened. We appreciate your support with that.
Yep.
Is there anything coming up in the future that concerns you that you're kind of keeping an eye on or you're watching, or is there anything that should be under our radar?
We did have some concerns. Everybody's probably aware of the big, beautiful bill. There were some concerns there with some of the aspects of the bill about, selling off public lands. And I was concerned about the scope of what that bill was. But that was a federal bill. Statewide, in state, I don't know of any policies that will threaten that. I've always been a big advocate for outdoor recreation. I've advocated for more funding for trails, all kinds of outdoor recreation. We increased funding for our fisheries, make sure that we've got an amount of fish available for, that's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and your off-road, multi-billion dollars, you talk about the, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars in economic revenue back to the state of Utah. So these are all very important. We're lucky in the state of Utah to have these great opportunities. I'm going to continue. When I ran for public office, I didn't have an agenda. I really didn't. All I wanted to do was good policy. And I wanted to make sure that we had everybody's interests when we're doing policy. I don't really have a dog in the fight, if you will. I mean, I just want good policies. And that's why I've advocated for, open public lands to make sure people can enjoy them. And I'll continue to do that. But I don't know of anything that's coming up in the state that I've seen that's going to threaten that.
Good. And we're very glad to hear that. And it's just, it makes us feel a lot more comfortable. There's a weird line that happens with politicians, as I'm sure you know. And I feel like a lot of folks out there, we hear enough rhetoric, we see enough false information online, we get enough bad information that it kind of gets to a point where you're not quite sure what pony to get behind and where to kind of push your chips to what side of the table. And all I can say is the thing that's most important to me, the message that I've really wanted to get out there with you and for the folks that are watching us is you're an ally to us. You're a friend. And you're a friend of the state, and you're a friend of your constituents. I understand that once you join one side or the other, you lose a little bit from one side. That's always going to be the case. But ultimately, I feel like the extremes on both sides ruin it I think most people are centrists. And I think that you get tied up, a lot of people do, and a lot of rhetoric that goes on, where you feel like if you're on one side, you can't talk to the other side.
Yeah.
Like there's this, we're a Ford dealership. If you're the Dodge guy, we have to hate. There's always this pick a side. For some reason, we've gotten to this point in life where if you're a conservative or a liberal, you have to align perfectly and you can't reach over that.
Yeah.
And I feel like with most people that I've talked to, whether they're conservative or they're liberal, and there's common ground in between us all. I think most of us fit kind of the centrist box.
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't have an agenda with that you just are for good policy speaks volumes about those things.
Yeah.
I think people who are extremists on both sides have an agenda.
Yeah.
I think people who are centrists and have good common sense, they just want good policy.
No.
In my experience with you over the years and the things that I know to be true with you, you've never been a guy that's like that. You don't run your business like that.
Yeah.
You're just a common sense guy. There's never been a time, like I said earlier, when we started this, that I've questioned where your motives are, where your integrity is. I just know where you're going to land. And that brings a great deal of comfort to me, not only with you in this business, but with you as our leadership. And I think that's super important. And I don't want to make this sound like I'm just here to kiss your butt. We're lucky to have you.
Well, you're very kind. That's very nice of you to say that. I appreciate it. Like I said, I just want good policy. I believe in, like I said, family values. I've got 22 grandkids. I do care about them. One of the main reasons I got involved was because I want to make sure that they have the same opportunities that I did. I grew up here in Cache Valley. Wonderful place to grow up. We've got, just a few minutes away from outdoors and some amazing forests and areas that we can recreate. And I just want to make sure that we preserve and make sure that our kids and grandkids have that same opportunity, and in a number of different policies that we've tried to do. So I appreciate you had kind words, Curt. It's been a pleasure working with you, and anything I can do to try and help, I'm always, my door's open. In fact, you talk about both sides of the aisle, and I've been able to work on both sides of the aisle. I even had a current Democratic leader of the Democratic Party called me yesterday, and he gave me accolades for being able to work with, the other side of the aisle with the Democrats. And I we're all trying to, we may not disagree or we may not agree on everything, but we probably agree on about 70-80% of the policies. Some of them, we're not, but boy, those that we can, if we can talk about it and make sure good policies that will help the citizens of Utah. Like I said, we are very lucky to live in this state. We have so much going for us, a lot of positive things. Let's just keep it going.
I couldn't agree with you, and I agree with that. I think that 70 or 80% of all issues, almost all of us align on them.
Yeah.
And it's the radical things, and I don't think that we should let those smoke and mirrors affect us from having a good policy and maintaining our great state.
Yep.
This is a wonderful place, and we're happy to have you. And I'm going to go a little bit on the other side here and plug our dealership here a little bit.
Okay.
I think it's important. This is a family-run place. I had an opportunity before you and I made a partnership to go with some big corporate places. I had some options. When I sat in the office with you and we shook hands and we made a deal together, it felt right. And it's always been right ever since. And you can buy a vehicle anywhere you want. Up and down the Wasatch Front, there's a ton of dealerships. I feel like we operate things very differently here. Most of the people that walk in the door, if we weren't friends before, we're friends now. Our neighbors buy our cars, our family does, the whole town does, half of the state does. I have people reach out to me all the time to buy vehicles from us, and it's very important to me that we treat people in a certain way. And over the years, we've acquired a lot of friends through business, and if any of you guys are looking for a vehicle, certainly reach out to us. I want to support this man in anything he ever does, ever will do. This guy is an advocate for all of us, not just for our local town, but he's an advocate for our state. And I think that it's important that you recognize those kind of things. This is a small dealership in compared to some. The mom and pop store.
Yeah, the mom and pops. Yeah, yeah.
We hold our heads high and we try to do things the right way. That's something that I admire about you. Like I said, as my friend, as my partner, and as a representative of the state. And we appreciate any business that comes along our way. Obviously, we are a business to make money, so it turns out. But at the end of the day, you can make money by doing the right thing. And I think that you are the pinnacle for that. And when I think about all the people who have influenced me in my life, the people I like doing business with and the companies, you have always been on the top of my list. And I appreciate you. So
Very kind. Very, very kind. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we are a mom and pops. We're kind of a dying breed. I mean, and that's why I've always avoided the opportunity to sell out to the bigger chains or even the national chains, and had opportunities to sell out. But I really do care about our customers and our employees. And, some of them just do things different business-wise than what I would feel comfortable with doing, of being a mom and pops, if you will. A family-owned, multi-generational store. This is how we treat people, is like they are friends and family and people I see in the community constantly as I go out and eat lunch almost every day, and among my customers and my constituents. And so I appreciate you're very kind, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. It means the world to us. And for everybody out there, we'll put our information down below. If you need anything, you can reach out to me. I will personally help you. And you'll be taken care of no matter what if you come here. But for those of you who know me, you're welcome to reach out to me, and we'll take white glove care of everybody.
Okay.
I know that there's a lot of confusion going on in the world, but it makes me feel good to know you're around, my friend.
Well, very nice. Very kind. Thank you. Appreciate it.